Hey, I'm Ron Drotos from keyboardimprov.com, and welcome to our journey through the real book, number 231, which is by Pat Metheny. It's called Midwestern Nights Dream. Pat has a lot of tunes in the real book. He was in Boston when the original real book was written by some students, undergraduates at the Berklee College of Music, and now it's published legitly by, if that's a word, legitly, by Hal Leonard. And it's come a long way, but some of the original tunes that weren't really standards or anything at the time, these were new tunes. So I think the original compilers of the real book took some older jazz standards they liked, and they took some very current songs that nobody would have known, really, at the time, by Pat Metheny. In the original one, some of these were just called Exercise Number 3 or something, because they were maybe tunes he wrote as an exercise for a composition class or something, Metheny. And Steve Swallow, another one, got some tunes in there really early on that were not standards and have become tunes that some people have dived into over the years and really come to love. So check it out, really nice tune. And as with all the jazz piano lessons in this series, we're looking at these from a place of understanding to help us learn these jazz standards in a sort of a broader way. What are some of the approaches we can take, or at least know where they came from? So Pat Metheny, guitarist, right? And so he was one of the, I don't know if you'd call it second generation jazz fusion players. That might be a good term, second generation jazz fusion. His first generation would have been Miles, Weather Report, the group with Joe Zawinul, Wayne Shorter, Return to Forever, Chick Corea, Herbie Hancock with his sort of R&B, funky kind of fusion efforts, and then certainly Headhunters. Metheny came a little later, a few years later, mid 70s, although he was burgeoning a little earlier on, and really took the world by storm. I remember, when American Garage came out, that album. I think Phase Dance was on that, right? I mean, just unbelievable, straight eighth notes. Stuff that people who liked pop music but wanted to hear something more expansive with lots of improv. So, might be... that kind of thing, straight eighth notes, but a lot of fun, semi-modal, sometimes with chord changes. And then later on, he actually got much more into some more experimental type of stuff. I remember seeing him at New York City's Town Hall, at the concert hall, and in, I don't know when this was, maybe 1981, somewhere in there. And he had just done this album called Off Ramp, where he used a guitar synth and some loud, more brassy sounds coming from his guitar, rather than his trademark, very mellow, smooth, almost vibraphone-like sound. And people walked out in that first concert. They weren't expecting it if they hadn't heard his new album. He did a few of his older songs, and then he came out with it and turned on that guitar synth, and I saw 20, 30 people just immediately stand up, head for the exits. And it's a shame because it was an unbelievable concert. And then he also returned to some of the old stuff they missed, right? They just didn't want to hear 3 songs and they leave, but that's human nature sometimes. That's what we artists have to deal with, right? In any case, people want to put us in a box. But Midwestern Nights Dream, it's probably a play on words from Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream. Midwestern. Metheny's from the American Midwest. He writes a lot of songs with Missouri in the title, or it talks about the heartlands, the Ozark Mountains. I've been to Missouri once. I played a wedding from a friend, got married, and in the Ozark Mountains at a resort, and they flew me down. It was really wonderful. I'd never been there before, so just driving the 3 hours or whatever from the airport to the Ozarks gave me a sense of that wide open space a little bit, with some of the foothills of the Ozarks there that helped me relate to Metheny's music in a different way. So what's going on here? Well, it's basically this B minor ninth to G major ninth. So it's B minor to G major. With that 1, 2, and 3. So the 1 and the end of 2. Almost like a Charleston, but in straight eighths. And then a wide open space, like the Midwest. And then wide open space. So it's really nice. And the solo section's basically based on that. There's a measure of 3/4, which is really nice at the end of the solo section. keep you on your toes, keep you thinking. And then for a little contrast, he comes up with this beautiful, something a little different, kind of just descending. The bass line's just descending with one little detour, just to sort of bring in some contrast. But the most of the tune, if you see it, the whole second page at least, is basically B minor to G. So it's fun. It's almost, well, it is very modal, or you could do some pentatonic scales. Use the A major pentatonic over this. So I'm just going to start out. I'm not going to try to do too much. I'm going to sort of have some of this vastness. You know, the American Midwest, very flat, the Great Plains, a lot of wide open space. So I'm just going to sort of see where this takes me, and then I'll see you at the end. that was a lot of fun for me, particularly to kind of revisit my teenage self. You know, I couldn't have played this tune when I was 15 and playing in that rock band, you know, my friends and I had. And we would do some fusion-y stuff. We might have played the second page where you're just playing these two chords over and over again. And the bass player would take a solo for 20 minutes. I'd take a keyboard solo for 20 minutes, or, you know, I don't know, 5 minutes. Then guitarist would play for a while, but we learned how to play that way, and this is what you can do too. You know, if to struggle to play through these standards, the high learning curve to play Charlie Parker's Confirmation or Blues for Alice or even Duke Ellington's Take the A Train at first. So by improvising over 1 or 2 chords like this, really gets you fluid, right? You just play, you just play, and then you can, you've had the experience of improvising at a nice level too. So then you can apply that to learning the more complex chord progressions. Luckily, Metheny didn't ask us to improvise over the hard part. It's just this open space kind of thing, like in the Midwest. So it's a good entry-level type of improvisation into jazz, but it's also something that you can enjoy at any level, because I was just loving, as you can see, coming up with some modal voicings and all that. Just there's these textures, and we get to create it. There's no real playbook during a solo like this. If it's going to get rhythmic or it's going to stay spacey, kind of atmospheric, a better word, you know, we can go for it. So thanks for joining me here. If you're interested, I got some free links, free stuff down with the links below, or my video course, help you play music with more of understanding and take you step by step through a lot of these techniques, melodic variation, things like that. Thanks again. Really appreciate you watching this. I'm having fun. Next week we will check out Milano by John Lewis. Speaking of more chord changes, more traditional type tune. Thanks again. I'll see you then.